Little Levolution. In this video, I thought I'd show off some of the smaller features of EA and DICE's favourite buzzword at the moment, and how they can play just as big a role as some of the more larger scale events that are included in Levolution 2. So if you couldn't tell by the introduction, we are on Operation Locker, and I think this map pays testament to some of the smaller aspects of Levolution because it's absolutely full of them. And personally, on this map, I feel that the smaller Levolution aspects actually play more of a role than the big one does, because when you bring the big one down, it just takes out one flanking route. It doesn't really do much else. Fair enough, it takes away the mounted 50 cal machine guns that are available to you while the tower is up, but apart from that, it doesn't do a huge amount. So the first one I wanted to show you is the way you can switch out the lights. Now, it does sound like a very simple addition to the battlefield, but trust me, it does make a massive difference. Now, you'll notice around the map in certain strategic locations, i.e. where the choke points are, that there are these fuse boxes that you're able to shoot and you can turn out the lights. In doing that, obviously, you make the battlefield that little bit darker. Now, if you've got a tac light or a flashlight on your weapon, this is where you start to gain a little bit of an advantage, because of course you can blind your enemy before they've seen you. I will give it that it's not completely dark, so if you do have a good eye, there's probably a chance that you're going to see players hiding in the corner, but if you're just running past, not paying too much attention, there's no way you're going to see the enemy in the corner there. Bear in mind though, that the lights do actually turn back on, so even though you've leathered 30 bullets into a fuse box that would probably render it useless, the lights do actually turn back on, so you need to pay attention to when they do, because if the enemies are about to flood the room, you're probably going to get caught with your pants down, so make sure you look out for that. You can just go and shoot the fuse box again and it will turn the lights out again, so really it's quite good because you don't just get stuck with the lights on or stuck with the lights off. The next aspect of Levolution that I wanted to show you, something that I really do like, this works for car alarms as well. This alarm system that's all over the place on Operation Locker, mainly again in the choke points, there for a good reason. If you run through it, crawl through it, sprint through it, whatever it is, you're going to set that alarm off. What that is going to do is alert all the players around you that you've just run through the metal detector, whether that be your friendly team or whether that be the enemy team. So it's something you really do need to look out for. The way to avoid it is to sort of straddle over the bit in between the barriers. That way you don't make a noise. And the final thing I wanted to show you here on Operation Locker, something that you probably will have encountered quite a lot, is the closing gates. I'm not entirely sure how much this contributes to changing the battlefield, but if you are running away from an enemy and you run into one of these things that's closed, it does take a second for them to open, so they could catch up to you and shoot you in the back, so it's definitely something you need to watch out for. So now I thought we'd move across to Flood Zone, which happens to be one of my favourite maps in Battlefield 4, and that probably shows in this clip because I don't think anyone has found this little aspect of Levolution yet. Now, as you may or may not know, on Conquest there are two flags located on the rooftops here, and the way to get to them is by using stairwells which work their way up through the buildings and you can get up onto the roof. Now, there are more stairs located in the middle of this built up area than there is on the outside, and the further out you go, the less frequent they become. Therefore, DICE has implemented this, a ladder. But that, in itself, is the Levolution aspect. At the top of this ladder, as you can quite clearly see, there is a hatch. If you close that, they can only get halfway up the ladder until they get to the first sort of landing point, and then they cannot get any further, so it renders the ladder useless. Your enemy can go halfway up there, and then will get stuck underneath you. For me, this is a really good bit of Levolution because it is a really good flanking route. If you can use this well and get behind the enemy team, and you've got a silencer on your weapon, you really can rip the enemy team apart. However, if you know that that ladder is there, you close the hatch, the enemy will get halfway up and then won't be able to do anything. And the last bit of Levolution, well, the little bit that I want to show you, is on Zavod 311, and it's located inside the factory section in the centre. Now, I'm not really sure if this actually is Levolution, because it's rather just turning something on and then something happens as to whether it actually affects gameplay. I don't think it does. I've still been killed by it, and trust me, it's quite funny when that happens. But if you turn this generator on over here, it will make these sort of machines behind you move up and down. Now, if you're not aware that they're on, because they do stay at the top for a while and you run through, it will move down and it will squash you. This has already happened to me 3 times, so I always make sure when moving into that room now that that generator is switched off, because it gets quite annoying after the 3rd attempt on the same round of running through that, not knowing how to turn the thing off. So in terms of Levolution, little is not always less. These smaller factors can play a massive role on the battlefield. and really can change the tide of the battle. But that's the end of the video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. If you could leave a like rating and a comment, it would be much appreciated. But until next time, my name is Westy, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.